I spent 25 years saving every spare dollar for my children. Not for myself. Not for vacations or new clothes or fancy dinners. Just for them. College. Weddings. A safety net they didn't even know I was building. And on my 60th birthday, the day I planned to give them the surprise of a lifetime, they didn't show up. They went to a lake house with their father and his new wife instead. They sent a text. "Sorry, Mom. Leona surprised us with a weekend getaway. Can we do lunch next week?" No call. No visit. No candle. No cake. That day, I sat at a table alone. 2 envelopes in my purse. Each one held a letter and a certified check for $500,000. By sunset, both envelopes were in the fireplace. They had made their choice. Now I was going to make mine. 25 years ago, I was standing in a grocery store aisle, holding a can of baby formula in one hand and a calculator in the other. Tyler was 3, Emma still in diapers, and the week's paycheck was already mostly gone. Rent, utilities, diapers, milk. I remember thinking, if I skip dinner tonight, I can afford to buy them both fruit this week. That's how it started. A little at a time. $5 in an envelope, then 10, then 20. Some weeks I couldn't put anything away. Others I managed 50. I opened a separate savings account in a bank I never visited. Set it up with no card, no online access, just a deposit slip and silence. Their father, Dennis, left when Emma was 2. He said he wasn't made for family life. 2 years later, he married a yoga instructor named Leona who liked to drink rose and talk about energy crystals. The kids loved her. She had money, took them on ski trips, bought them iPads, told them not to worry about the past. Meanwhile, I was working as a librarian by day, cleaning houses on weekends. I made cupcakes from scratch for birthdays, sewed Halloween costumes myself. We didn't have much, but I gave them everything I had. They were good kids. Sweet, thoughtful. Until they weren't. Until they grew up and started using words like brunch plans, and Mom Leona said she already booked a cabin for all of us. Can we reschedule? They didn't know what I was saving. They didn't know that every lonely night, every missed trip, every silent sacrifice was building toward a gift. I wanted to give them freedom, but they were already free from me. The week before my birthday, the house was too quiet. I walked room to room, dusting corners and reorganizing shelves no one else would ever notice. The television stayed off, the radio low. I wanted to be alone with the hum of my thoughts. Anticipation buzzed beneath my calm, the kind that builds when you've prepared something special and you're days away from revealing it. Emma stopped by on Wednesday. She was in a hurry, the way young people always are, as if time is something they own instead of something they borrow. She handed me a candle, still wrapped in tissue and the logo from some boutique shop. "It's lavender," she said. "I thought of you." I smiled. I thanked her. I invited her to sit. "I can't," she said. "Leona made reservations tonight. It's some pop-up dinner thing. Really exclusive. I have to run." I watched her go with a soft ache building behind my ribs. She'd worn her hair long now, with gold hoops and designer boots. Her hug was quick and shallow. No time. No time. Tyler called the next morning. I saw his name flash on the screen while I was kneading bread in the kitchen. I wiped my hands and answered. "Hey Mom. Quick call. Just wanted to check in. Work's insane. Leona gave us spa vouchers, so we're thinking about a weekend at the lake." He didn't ask what I was doing. He didn't mention my birthday. "That sounds nice," I said. "Yeah," he said. "Honestly, we need a break. Things have been kind of tense." Tense. Between Leona and Dad. She's been trying to keep him calm. Emma thinks they need this getaway. My heart dipped slightly. A beat skipped. "You're all going?" "Yeah." It's been forever since we had a real family trip. Real family. I bit the inside of my cheek and nodded, though he couldn't see me. "Sounds like a good idea. You're the best, Mom. Seriously. I'll call you next week, okay?" He hung up. That night, I set the table. Not for dinner. For ceremony. 2 white envelopes. One for each of them. A letter inside, written with my hand and my heart. And a certified check for $500,000. I placed them beside the teacups. I arranged napkins. Lit 2 candles. Then I sat alone, in that perfect quiet. Waiting. The morning after the call from Tyler, I found myself up before the sun, staring out the window at the hydrangeas I had planted when Emma started kindergarten. They bloomed early that year, big violet heads, as showy as they were silent. I made coffee, black, no sugar. I sat in the quiet, and I made a decision. If they didn't have time to remember me now, then they certainly wouldn't be ready to hold what I'd built. But I still wanted to believe, to hope. So I pulled. I dressed carefully, blouse pressed, shoes polished, lipstick on. Then I drove into town. The law office of Forrester and Lane sat between a pastry shop and a florist. Small, tidy, with real wood blinds and a bell that chimed when you opened the door. Mr. Forrester was in his 60s, quiet and deliberate. He wore a navy vest over a white shirt and always smelled faintly of pipe smoke and lemon polish. "Miss Hemsley," he greeted me. Right on time. He led me into his office. We sat. He poured tea. "You've made a decision?" I nodded. "Yes. It's time." He opened a folder on the desk. "The trust accounts are prepared. I just need your final approval on the dispersal schedule and the letters." I handed him the updated drafts. One for Tyler, one for Emma. In them, I wrote about every missed birthday party I worked through, every school trip I scraped together money for, every time I said no to something for myself so I could say yes to them. But I didn't ask for pity. I wrote about love. I wrote about belief. And I wrote about legacy, the kind that doesn't just leave money, but leaves meaning. The checks would be dated for my birthday. 2 envelopes. $500,000 each. "I want to deliver them myself," I said. "That day." He nodded slowly. "I'll have them printed and notarized. You'll receive them the day before." I stood to leave. He looked at me. "You're very generous," he said. "I'm a mother," I said. And I walked out into the afternoon sun, hoping that I hadn't already become a memory to them. I woke up before the sun, just like always. The house was silent, except for the soft tick of the clock in the hallway. I moved slowly that morning, careful with every step, every breath. It wasn't just my birthday. It was the day I'd waited 25 years to see through. I made fresh bread. I arranged fruit on a platter. I set the dining table with the best china, the one I'd inherited from my mother, the one I only ever used on Christmas. The envelope sat in the center, cream-colored, weighted, sealed with wax. Inside, love and legacy, and the future I had scraped together crumb by crumb. I made their favorite dishes. Tyler's lemon herb chicken, Emma's roasted squash with honey and thyme. I even baked a flourless chocolate cake, the kind Dennis always hated because it was too rich, too dense. I lit candles. I put on a soft blue sweater and the necklace Emma gave me for Mother's Day when she was 13. I waited. At noon I texted, "Just checking, are you still coming by?" No response. At 2:13 p.m., Emma replied, "Hey Mom. Leona surprised us with a weekend trip to the lake. It was kind of last minute. Can we do lunch next week?" At 2:15 p.m., Tyler added, "Yes, sorry Mom. She went all out. You'd love the place. Let's do something soon." That was it. I stared at the messages. Then I stared at the table. The candles still flickered, steady and dumb. I stood up, walked to the fireplace and opened the screen. The wood was already stacked. I lit the match, let it catch, and fed it in slow, quiet movements. Then I picked up the envelopes. I looked at them, held them for a moment, ran my finger along the edge, and dropped them into the flames. They curled. They blackened. The wax popped. I watched until there was nothing left but ash. Then I turned off the lights, blew out the candles, and sat at the table, alone. No one called. No one came. Just me, and the silence they left behind. The next morning, the air felt clearer, sharper, the kind of crispness that makes you aware of your own breath. I sat with a mug of tea, no sugar, and stared out the kitchen window. I didn't feel sad. I felt awake, the kind of awake you only reach after something final. A death, a betrayal, or both. By 10 a.m., I was back at Forrester and Lane. Mr. Forrester didn't seem surprised to see me. He stood, buttoned his coat, and said, "You'd like to make changes, I assume?" I nodded. He led me into his office. I laid the ashes of the envelopes on his desk in a sealed pouch. "No need to explain," he said quietly. I rewrote everything. The letters, the beneficiaries, the instructions. Half of my savings would now go to 3 local charities. One for single mothers, one for children's literacy, and one for elder care. The rest? A modest trust for me. Enough to live well, to travel, to rest. There was no anger in my revisions. Only precision, only clarity. As I signed the new papers, Mr. Forrester looked up. "Are you sure?" I looked him straight in the eye. "I'm not punishing them," I said. "I'm letting go." He nodded once, stamped the final page, and slid the document into a folder. I walked out with nothing in my hands, and more peace than I'd felt in years. In the days that followed, I didn't reach out. Not when Tyler called twice and let it go to voicemail. Not when Emma sent me a meme on Instagram and followed it with, "How are you feeling?" I didn't ignore them out of spite. I simply had nothing to say. Emma called midweek. I let it ring. Then she texted, "Saw your story, Santa Fe? Looks beautiful. When did you go?" I hadn't posted anything public. Just one photo to my close friends list. Cactus shadows across red sand. Apparently word traveled. Then Tyler called. I picked up. "Hey Mom. We've been wondering. Are you okay? You've been kind of quiet." "I'm fine," I said. "Just taking care of things." There was a pause. "Like what?" "Just things," I said. They didn't press, but I could hear it in their voices. Something was shifting. They'd always been confident that I was constant, safe, predictable. The idea that I could be private, or intentional, or even strategic was foreign to them. That week, Tyler bumped into Mr. Forrester at a community fundraiser. It was some wine and auction event Dennis had roped him into attending. Tyler went reluctantly, out of politeness and appearances, sipping dry Chardonnay in a borrowed blazer. Mr. Forrester was there supporting a reading foundation. Quiet, observant, impeccable. He and I hadn't spoken since the rewrite, but he gave Tyler a polite smile. "Your mother's been making some big decisions," he said casually, holding a glass of water. "Hope she's enjoying the quiet." Tyler blinked. "What decisions?" Mr. Forrester tilted his head. "I assumed she would have mentioned. She seems very at peace with them." That was it. But it was more than enough. Tyler left the event early, drove straight to Emma's apartment. They sat on her couch, phones in their laps, confusion written on both their faces. "Do you think she's sick?" Emma asked. Tyler shook his head. "She sounded normal. Just quiet." "She's never been quiet about anything. Remember the year I got a cold and she called the doctor 3 times? "Yeah," Tyler said. "And she brought soup and tissues to my dorm that one time I said I felt weird." They scrolled her social media. No updates. Nothing new. They called again. No answer. Emma texted me at 1 a.m. "Are you sick? Did something happen? Please call us." I didn't. Instead, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I remembered the way they used to need me. How Emma clung to my leg the first day of school. How Tyler cried when I left for overnight shifts. I remembered every fever, every spelling bee, every whispered bedtime story. And I remembered watching them walk out the door last year for Christmas dinner at Dennis and Leona's, saying, "We'll stop by after. Just save us a plate." They never came. That was when I realized they didn't forget me. They just didn't prioritize me. So I stopped making myself available. Instead, I started researching coastal towns. Somewhere warm, somewhere quieter. I Googled terms like single retiree beachfront communities and secluded writing retreats for women. I made lists, watched YouTube vlogs, created folders, began mapping distances from airports. I stopped shopping at the usual grocery store, visited 1-2 towns over. I unsubscribed from group texts. I muted family notifications. It wasn't punishment, it was protection. I began packing a few small things, books, notebooks, keepsakes. I took down the photo from Emma's graduation. I placed it in a box. Not from anger, but because it was time. Time they learned what absence really looked like. And time I remembered what peace really felt like. They still didn't know, but they were starting to guess. I went on morning walks, read in the afternoons, had tea in silence. I started repainting the guest room not because I expected company, but because I liked the smell of fresh paint and the way the sunlight hit pale yellow. One afternoon, I passed a consignment shop and bought a suitcase. Not a big one, just enough for a week's trip. I hadn't traveled in years, but the idea of standing in a new city, anonymous and alone, felt almost thrilling. I booked a flight to Santa Fe. I didn't tell anyone. They texted me on Sunday, the following weekend. Tyler, hey, still want to grab lunch? We're back. Emma. Leona says she wants to plan a do-over birthday. Something cute and fun. Spa day. Wine tasting. I let the messages sit, then disappear. Not deleted, just unanswered. Later that night, I changed my phone background. It had been a picture of the three of us on Emma's high school graduation. Now it was a landscape of the desert. Endless. And wide open. The night Emma showed up at my front door, it was raining. Not a dramatic storm, no thunderclaps or cinematic lightning. Just a steady, cold drizzle that soaked her hair and darkened her jacket as she stood outside, arms folded, mascara smudging slightly under her eyes. I opened the door and looked at her. We hadn't spoken in nearly 2 weeks. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside, said nothing. She entered slowly, glancing around the house like it was both familiar and foreign. She noticed the photo was gone from the mantel, the graduation one. She didn't say anything. I brought you something, she said, reaching into her bag and pulling out a plastic container. Inside, cupcakes. Lavender frosting, little sugar flowers. They're from that place you like, remember? I nodded, then set them gently on the counter. Thank you. Emma hesitated, then sat. Mom, what's going on? I didn't sit. I poured myself a glass of water and sipped it. You tell me, I said. She winced. You've been distant. Since your birthday. You didn't say anything. But we could tell something's off. I raised an eyebrow. Off. She fidgeted with the strap of her purse. Look, I know we messed up. Missing your birthday, that wasn't cool. We got caught up in things. But you're being kind of dramatic, ghosting us. Dramatic, I repeated. Emma flushed. I didn't mean it like that. I mean, you didn't even tell us where you went. Or why you suddenly changed your number. Tyler came by 2 days later. He was quieter, more cautious. He asked if I wanted to go to brunch. Said he'd made a reservation. Said Leona had been worried about me too. I declined. Why, he asked. We're trying, Mom. I looked at him for a long moment, then said, you try when it's convenient. You remember me when someone else reminds you. He said nothing. On my birthday I waited. I made your favorite food. I wrote you letters. I was going to give you both something I'd been saving for 25 years. I was going to change your lives. He blinked. What do you mean? I smiled, not out of amusement, but something colder, final. It doesn't matter now. He stood in stunned silence. What were you going to give us? He asked. I was going to give you everything, I said. He opened his mouth, closed it. And now? I shook my head. You'll have to find everything yourself. Emma called again a few nights later. Left a voicemail. Mom, I didn't know. We didn't know. Please let us fix this. But some mistakes don't get rewound. Some clocks don't tick backward. I booked a flight to Port Townsend. Small town, quiet bay, big sky. I let the past sit behind me, like a photo in an old album. Something I could flip to when I felt nostalgic, but not something I'd ever frame again. By the time they realized what they'd lost, I had already built a new world where I wasn't waiting for their love. I was surrounded by my own. I didn't tell them I was leaving. I didn't leave a forwarding address either. Just a rental agreement in a coastal town where no one knew my name, a post office box, and a garden with thyme growing in crooked rows. They found me anyway. It was late October when I heard the knock. The wind was sharp, blowing salt through the screen door. I'd been reading on the porch, a blanket around my legs and a cat, not mine but neighborly, purring by my feet. I didn't get many visitors. When I opened the door, it was Emma. Behind her, Tyler stood with his hands in his jacket pockets. Their clothes were too thin for the cold, their eyes too wide. Mom, Emma said. We drove here. It took hours. I nodded. You should have dressed warmer. She stepped forward, unsure. Can we come in? I didn't move, but I didn't close the door either. Tyler cleared his throat. We just wanted to talk. One last time. That part, the way he said last, stuck. I let them inside. The living room was small, books stacked in towers, the air smelling faintly of cedar. I gestured to the couch. They sat like guests, back straight, nervous hands. "I brought your letters," Emma said quietly. She reached into her purse and pulled out 2 envelopes. "They didn't burn all the way. I found them in the fireplace." My breath caught. Just a flicker. But I didn't reach for them. "I read mine," she whispered. "Not all of it made it through. But I saw enough." Tyler looked down. "We didn't know. About the money. About any of it." I sat across from them, folded my hands. "It was never about the money," I said. "I know," Emma said. "But we still failed you." Silence. "I didn't need perfection," I said. "I just needed to not be forgotten. I never meant to make you feel." Tyler started, but I raised a hand. "You didn't make me feel anything. You just showed me the truth." Emma leaned forward. "Is there any way back?" I looked at them, really looked. Saw the shame, the regret, the cracks forming in their once sure expressions. "You'll always be my children," I said. "But I can't be your safety net anymore. I spent too long being the one who waited." Tyler's voice broke. "So this is it. This is a new beginning," I said. "But not the one you came for." Emma wiped her cheek. "What do we do?" "Grow up," I said gently. "Remember what it feels like to be left behind. Let it change you." I walked them to the door. They didn't argue, didn't beg, just stood there blinking against the wind. Emma turned back once. "I love you, Mom." "I know," I said. And then I closed the door, soft but final. Behind it, a new life waited. I didn't tell them I was leaving. I didn't leave a forwarding address either. Just a rental agreement in a coastal town where no one knew my name, a post office box, and a garden with thyme growing in crooked rows. They found me anyway. It was late October when I heard the knock. The wind was sharp, blowing salt through the screen door. I'd been reading on the porch, a blanket around my legs and a cat, not mine but neighborly, purring by my feet. I didn't get many visitors. When I opened the door, it was Emma. Behind her, Tyler stood with his hands in his jacket pockets. Their clothes were too thin for the cold, their eyes too wide. "Mom," Emma said. "We drove here. It took hours." I nodded. "You should have dressed warmer." She stepped forward, unsure. "Can we come in?" I didn't move, but I didn't close the door either. Tyler cleared his throat. "We just wanted to talk. One last time." That part, the way he said last, stuck. I let them inside. The living room was small, books stacked in towers, the air smelling faintly of cedar. I gestured to the couch. They sat like guests, back straight, nervous hands. "I brought your letters," Emma said quietly. She reached into her purse and pulled out 2 envelopes. "They didn't burn all the way. I found them in the fireplace." My breath caught. Just a flicker. But I didn't reach for them. "I read mine," she whispered. "Not all of it made it through. But I saw enough." Tyler looked down. "We didn't know. About the money. About any of it." I sat across from them, folded my hands. "It was never about the money," I said. "I know," Emma said. "But we still failed you." Silence. "I didn't need perfection," I said. "I just needed to not be forgotten. I never meant to make you feel." Tyler started, but I raised a hand. "You didn't make me feel anything. You just showed me the truth." Emma leaned forward. "Is there any way back?" I looked at them, really looked. Saw the shame, the regret, the cracks forming in their once sure expressions. "You'll always be my children," I said. "But I can't be your safety net anymore. I spent too long being the one who waited." Tyler's voice broke. "So this is it. This is a new beginning," I said. "But not the one you came for." Emma wiped her cheek. "What do we do?" "Grow up," I said gently. "Remember what it feels like to be left behind. Let it change you." They spent the next hour sitting silently, sometimes speaking, sometimes staring into the little fire I'd lit just for the chill. We talked of old times, not with warmth, but acknowledgement. We did not laugh. We did not hug. But something closed and something opened. Before they left, Tyler stepped out to the car, leaving Emma and I in the doorway. "You look happy here," she said. "I am. It's hard to imagine you happy without us." "That's because you've only known the version of me that sacrificed everything for you." Her lip quivered. "Will we see you again?" "You'll hear from me when I have something to say." Emma turned back once. "I love you, Mom." "I know," I said. And then I closed the door, soft but final. Behind it, a new life waited. Outside, they stood for a long time before driving away, the sound of tires on gravel fading into a misty hush that settled over the garden like a benediction. I watched from behind the curtain, just long enough to know they hadn't looked back. There's a certain kind of silence that comes only after you've made peace with the past. Not the absence of sound, but the absence of needing anything from the ones who broke you. That's the kind of silence I live in now. It's in the way I breathe without checking my phone, in the way the kettle whistles without urgency, in the way no one's absence sits heavy at my table anymore. That silence, it's not empty, it's full of choice. The ocean doesn't ask questions. It doesn't care who left. It just keeps coming, wave after wave. It's the best company I've had in years. Some mornings I write. Nothing dramatic, small things. Thoughts. Letters I'll never send. Lists I don't intend to follow. Some afternoons I visit the local library, where nobody knows I used to be a librarian. I let the anonymity wrap around me like a shawl. I volunteer at the garden down the road, a community plot. I grow tomatoes, basil, lavender. I pull weeds slowly. I never rush. I learned, finally, that I don't have to earn rest. My birthdays now are simple. A new book, a walk along the water, a slice of lemon cake I baked just for me. No candles, no pressure, just gratitude, the kind that comes from surviving without applause. Do I miss them? Some days. The children they used to be, yes. The sticky-fingered, bright-eyed versions of them that needed my lap and my stories. But I do not miss being invisible. What I lost in family, I gained in clarity. I understand now. Being needed is not the same as being loved. I spent decades tying my worth to their smiles, their visits, their whims. I thought giving endlessly would make me unforgettable. But I forgot myself instead. Until I didn't. Now I remember what I like, what I need, what I deserve. I've made friends here. Real ones. The kind who don't show up because they feel guilty. They show up because they want to. We eat soup on Wednesdays. We share stories. We don't interrupt. I wrote new letters. Not to Tyler or Emma, but to myself. Little reminders. You are not a burden. You are not responsible for their choices. You did your best. And it was more than enough. Sometimes I reread them. Sometimes I don't need to. They still text now and then. The tone is softer. Tentative. I answer when I want to. I don't when I don't. That's the freedom no one talks about. Choosing peace over proof. I don't need to prove I was a good mother. I know I was. And I don't need them to confirm it anymore. So I'll keep planting. Keep walking. Keep baking cakes just for one. And if one day they knock again, I might open the door. Or I might not. Because I've learned how to live with an open heart and a closed gate. That's not bitterness. That's balance. And it's more than enough.